Hello guys, welcome to Proxima What Ifs. So in this video, we will see, what if Rimuru was the son of Ophis reincarnated in DxD verse? If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Chapter 1. Void Awakening. Death should have been the end. For most beings, it was. But Rimuru Tempest had never been, most beings. Even before he'd become a slime, before he'd built a nation, before he'd ascended to the ranks of true demon lords, he had always been different. Now, floating in an endless void between worlds, he wondered if this was truly the afterlife, or merely another transition. How curious, a soft voice echoed through the darkness. Your soul is different. Rimuru couldn't see the speaker, couldn't even feel his own body anymore. Just consciousness suspended in nothingness. Who's there? He tried to ask, though he had no mouth to speak with. A figure materialized, a young girl with gothic Lolita clothing and bottomless black eyes. I am Ophis, the infinite dragon god, she said, her expression unchanging. And you carry something of mine. Before Rimuru could respond, the void collapsed around him, crushing his consciousness into a pinpoint of light that shot through dimensions unknown. Rimuru Tempest woke with a gasp, nearly falling out of bed. Sunlight streamed through unfamiliar curtains, illuminating an unfamiliar room. His heart pounded against his ribs. Wait, heart. Ribs. He looked down at his hands, human hands, slender and pale. A quick check confirmed the rest. Human body, teenage from the looks of it, with shoulder-length blue hair falling into his eyes. What the hell? He muttered, voice cracking slightly. It wasn't the first time he'd been reincarnated, but this felt different. His memories were intact but jumbled, the great sage was silent, and he couldn't feel Veldora's presence anymore. A phone alarm blared from the nightstand. The screen displayed, First Day, KUOH Academy, in bold letters. Kuo Academy. Rimuru frowned. The name meant nothing to him. Yet somehow he knew exactly what it was. A high school, formerly all girls, recently turned co-ed. He had transferred in mid-semester. Transferred from where? His mind supplied no answer. With a groan, he got up and found a uniform hanging neatly on his closet door. As he dressed, fragmented knowledge filtered through his consciousness. This world wasn't his own. Different rules, different powers, different dangers. But why was he here? And what had that dream meant? The face of the gothic Lolita girl, Ophis, lingered in his mind. Kuo Academy loomed ahead, an imposing Western-style campus teeming with students. Rimuru adjusted his tie nervously. Despite having led a nation in his previous life, somehow being the new kid at school made him anxious. Excuse me, a voice called from behind. You're blocking the gate. Rimuru turned to find a girl with long crimson hair watching him with curious blue-green eyes. Something about her made the hairs on his neck stand up. Power, old and dangerous. Cloaked beneath a beautiful human facade. Sorry, he said, stepping aside. First day jitters. She tilted her head, studying him. You're the transfer student. Rimuru Tempest, correct. That's me. He offered a smile, while mentally noting that she knew his name without introduction. I'm Rias Grimori, Student Council President. She extended a hand. Welcome to Kuo Academy. The moment their fingers touched, a spark of energy jumped between them. Rias's eyes widened fractionally before her composure returned. Interesting, she murmured. You should find your homeroom. But perhaps we'll speak again soon. As she walked away, Rimuru fought the urge to rub his tingling hand. Whatever Rias Grimori was, she wasn't human, and she knew he wasn't ordinary either. Classes dragged by in a blur of introductions and curriculum that seemed trivially simple after centuries of governing a nation. By lunchtime, Rimuru had gathered enough context to understand his situation better. T.'s world had hidden supernatural elements, devils, angels, fallen angels, and other mythological beings existing beneath the notice of ordinary humans. And somehow, he'd been dropped right into the middle of it. Hey, new guy. A boy with short brown hair slid into the seat beside him. I'm Issei Hyodo, Saw you talking to Rias-senpai this morning. How'd you manage that? She's like, the school idol. Rimuru shrugged. Just luck, I guess. Quote, man, some guys have all the fortune, Issei sighed dramatically. First day and already getting noticed by the most beautiful girl in school. Despite his outward enthusiasm, something lurked beneath Issei's surface too, dormant power, waiting to awaken. Rimuru's instincts, honed through countless battles, detected it immediately. Is Grimori-senpai that popular? He asked, probing for information. Are you kidding? Her and Akino-senpai are the two great ladies of Kuo. Every guy here would give their left. Issei caught himself, coughing. Well, you know, they're popular. Rimuru nodded, filing away the information. Any clubs worth joining. Depends what you're into. Though fair warning, the Kendo Club girls will beat you with bamboo swords if they catch you peeping. Issei's expression suggested personal experience with this outcome. I'll keep that in mind, Rimuru said dryly. The conversation shifted to classes and teachers, but Rimuru remained distracted. The dream of Ophis still lingered, and the strange sensations he'd felt from both Rias and Issei suggested this world was far more dangerous than it appeared. What had happened to his slime abilities? He could still sense a vast reservoir of power within himself, but it felt different, colder, more primal. Reaching for it was like dipping his fingers into an endless abyss. After school, Rimuru decided to explore the campus. The old school building caught his attention. It emanated subtle energy that reminded him of barrier spells. As he approached, the hairs on his arms stood up. Someone was watching him, curious about the occult research club. A soft voice asked. A petite girl with white hair stood nearby, eating what appeared to be a chocolate bar. Is that what's in there? Rimuru asked. She nodded. I'm Kaneko Tuju. Rimuru Tempest. I know. Her golden eyes revealed nothing. You smell different. Before Rimuru could ask what she meant, screams erupted from the direction of the gymnasium. Without thinking, he sprinted toward the sound, Kaneko right behind him. They burst through the doors to find chaos, students fleeing in terror from what appeared to be a woman. But as Rimuru's vision adjusted, he saw the woman had grown grotesque, with the lower body of a centaur and claws dripping with blood. A stray devil, Kaneko murmured, stepping forward. The creature turned, nostrils flaring. More food, it growled, charging toward a group of frozen students. Rimuru moved on instinct. In his previous life, he would have called upon Predator or any number of skills. Now, he reached for that cold void inside him, and found something responding. Darkness flowed from his fingertips, solidifying into a barrier between the stray devil and its prey. The creature slammed into it, howling in frustration. Get them out of here, Rimuru told Kaneko, who gave him an appraising look before nodding and herding the students toward the exit. The stray devil turned its attention to Rimuru, eyes blazing with hunger. You smell delicious. What are you? I was just wondering the same thing about you, Rimuru replied, circling to keep its attention fixed on him rather than the retreating students. It lunged, faster than any human could move. But Rimuru had faced demons and dragons and human warriors with godlike powers. He sidestepped, darkness trailing from his hands like living shadows. The void energy responded to his will, forming tendrils that wrapped around the creature's legs. It screamed, thrashing wildly as the darkness began consuming it. Stop! A commanding voice rang out. Rimuru turned to see Rias Grimori standing in the doorway, flanked by Kaneko and two others, a young man with blonde hair and a beautiful girl with a long black ponytail. This stray devil falls under my jurisdiction, Rias continued, stepping forward. Her power radiated outward, a crimson aura that spoke of destruction. Realizing he might have overstepped, Rimuru released his hold on the void energy. The tendrils dissipated, though the stray devil remained bound by residual darkness. My apologies, he said. I was just trying to protect the students. Rias's eyes narrowed. Akino, finish this. The black-haired girl stepped forward, lightning crackling between her fingers. With pleasure, President. What followed was swift and merciless, a demonstration of power that confirmed Rimuru's suspicions. These weren't humans, but devils, executing one of their kind who had gone rogue. When it was done, nothing remained of the stray devil but ashes. Rias turned her full attention to Rimuru. I believe we need to talk, Tempest-kun. The Occult Research Club room was exactly what one might expect: Victorian furniture, occult symbols, and a general atmosphere of mysticism. Rimuru sat on an antique sofa, facing Rias across a coffee table. You're not human, she stated simply. Rimuru considered his options. Lying seemed pointless. They had seen him use powers no human should possess. But revealing everything felt premature when he himself didn't fully understand his situation. Neither are you, he countered. A small smile played at her lips. True enough. I am Rias Grimori, heir to the House of Grimori, one of the 72 pillars of the underworld. She gestured to her companions. This is my peerage, Akino Himehima, my queen, Yudo Kiba, my knight, and Kaneko Tuju, my rook. Each nodded in turn, their expressions varying from Akino's amused smile to Kaneko's blank stare. Devils, Rimuru said, the knowledge somehow there in his mind. And a peerage is, servants. Followers, reincarnated devils who serve their master, Kiba explained. Each with specific roles and abilities. Rimuru nodded slowly. I see. And what do you want with me? Information, for starters. Rias leaned forward. The power you displayed isn't anything I've encountered before. Not demonic, not holy, not draconic. It felt empty. Void energy, Rimuru murmured, the term coming to him unbidden. Akino raised an eyebrow. Associated with dragons of nothingness. Quite rare. A flash of the gothic Lolita girl from his dream, Ophis, the infinite dragon god, passed through Rimuru's mind. I'm not entirely sure what I am, he admitted. I woke up here with memories of another life, another world. I was different there. Another world. Rias's eyes lit with interest. That would explain the unusual energy signature. But that still doesn't answer what you are now. Before Rimuru could respond, the room temperature plummeted. Frost formed on the windows. And their breath misted in the suddenly frigid air. A tear appeared in reality itself, a vertical slash that widened into a portal of swirling darkness. Through it stepped a woman with silver hair and eyes like frozen stars. She wore armor of an unknown black metal that seemed to absorb light. Found you, she said, her voice melodic yet cold. The spawn of the Ouroboros dragon. Rias and her rage immediately moved into defensive positions, power flaring around them. But the woman ignored them, her gaze fixed solely on Rimuru. Who are you? He demanded, rising to his feet. I am Kala, hunter of the divine. Her lips curved in a predatory smile. And you, little goatling, are my prey. She moved like lightning, a black blade materializing in her hand. Rimuru barely had time to summon High's void energy as a shield before she struck. The impact sent him crashing through the wall and into the school grounds. Stay back, he shouted to Rias and the others as they prepared to intervene. So, Mething told him this hunter was far beyond their capabilities. Kala stalked through the hole in the wall, her blade dripping with liquid darkness. Your power is undeveloped, goatling. This will be disappointing. Rimuru dodged her next strike, trying to gather his thoughts. Goatling, spawn of the Ouroboros dragon. Was she referring to Ophis from his dream? I don't know what you're talking about, he said. Darkness gathering around his hands. But if it's a fight you want. He thrust forward, void energy coalescing into a lance that shot toward Kala. She sliced it in half with her blade, but the severed energy didn't dissipate. Instead, it curved around and struck her from behind, throwing her forward. Surprise flickered across her face. Interesting. You have some instinctive control. She renewed her assault, blade blurring with speed. Rimuru found himself drawing on combat experience from his previous life, though without his slime abilities, he was at a disadvantage. Each clash sent shockwaves across the school grounds, shattering windows and uprooting trees. Why are you attacking me? He demanded, creating a shield of void energy to block her overhead strike. Divine essence is valuable, she replied, pressing down harder, especially that of an infinite dragon god. Your core will fetch a handsome price. A blast of crimson energy struck Kala from the side, momentarily disrupting her attack. Rias stood with her hand extended, power swirling around her. "This is Grimoire territory," she declared. "You're trespassing." Kala looked annoyed. "Devils. Always interfering where you don't belong." She flicked her wrist, and a wave of force sent Rias and her peerage flying backward. But the distraction gave Rimuru precious seconds to focus, to reach deeper into the void energy swirling within him. In his mind's eye, he saw Ophis again, her bottomless gaze reflecting infinity. Something clicked into place, a connection, a heritage, a birthright. "Enough," he said, his voice suddenly layered with power. The temperature dropped further, frost spreading across the ground in intricate patterns. Darkness gathered around Rimuru, not just shadows but the absence of everything. A perfect void that began consuming light, heat, sound. Kala's eyes widened. "Impossible. You shouldn't be able to access that level of power yet." Rimuru didn't understand the mechanics of what he was doing. Only that it felt right, like coming home after a long journey. The void responded to his will, expanding outward in a dome that engulfed them both, cutting off the outside world. Inside this pocket dimension of nothingness, only he and Kala remained. "What are you?" she whispered, real fear showing for the first time. Rimuru found himself speaking words that came from somewhere beyond. Conscious thought. "I am the son of the infinite, born of the void. I am the inheritor of Ouroboros." Black energy coalesced around him, taking serpentine form, a massive dragon composed of living darkness that circled him protectively. It wasn't physical, more like a manifestation of his true nature. Kala assessed her options and apparently found them wanting. "This changes things," she said, lowering her blade. "You're not just a fragment or an essence bearer. You're her actual offspring." "Start explaining," Rimuru demanded, the void dragon hovering menacingly above him. "The Ouroboros dragon, Ophis, is one of the most powerful beings in existence, the embodiment of infinity and nothingness. I hunt divine beings for their essence, but I've never encountered an actual child of a primordial god." She took a step back. "This requires recalculation." Before Rimuru could stop her, she slashed open another portal. "We'll meet again, son of Ophis. When I'm better prepared." She stepped through, the portal sealing behind her. The void dome collapsed as Rimuru's concentration broke. He fell to one knee, suddenly exhausted. Creating that pocket dimension had drained him far more than expected. Rias and her peerage approached cautiously, staring at him with new eyes. "Son of Ophis," Rias repeated, disbelief coloring her voice. "The infinite dragon god has no children." "Apparently she does," Akeno murmured, looking at Rimuru with fascination. "Or at least, she does now." Rimuru struggled to his feet, his mind reeling. "I don't understand any of this. In my previous life, I was Lime, a monster who evolved into a demon lord. I never had anything to do with dragons, let alone gods." "Reincarnation is complex," Rias said thoughtfully. "Perhaps your soul carries divine essence that wasn't fully expressed in your previous incarnation." Kaneko stepped forward, sniffing the air around him. "He smells like the infinity serpent," she confirmed. "But also, something else. Something human." The world swayed around Rimuru, exhaustion and information overload taking their toll. The last thing he saw before consciousness faded was Rias catching him, concern in her blue-green eyes. Dreams came in fragments. A vast serpent devouring its own tail, encircling creation itself. The gothic Lolita girl, Ophis, standing in a realm of shadows, watching as countless worlds formed and dissolved around her. A blue slime absorbing a storm dragon, evolving, growing, becoming more than the sum of its parts. A baby with eyes like endless voids, crying as reality tore around it, as gods and monsters fought to possess or destroy it. And finally, Ophis again, whispering, "Find me, my son. Before they find you." Rimuru woke in an unfamiliar bed. Sunlight filtered through curtains, illuminating what appeared to be a guest room in a traditional Japanese house. "You're awake," a soft voice observed. He turned to find a beautiful woman with long black hair tied in a ponytail sitting beside his bed. "Akeno Himahima," Rias's queen. Where am I? He asked, throat dry. My shrine, she replied, offering a cup of water. We thought it best not to take you to a hospital, given what happened. Rimuru accepted the water gratefully. How long was I out? Just overnight. It's Saturday morning. She studied him with curious violet eyes. You gave us quite a show yesterday. Memories flooded back. The stray devil, Kala's attack. The void dragon manifestation. Rimuru groaned. Is everyone alright? The school. Rias's brother came with his peerage to repair the damage and alter memories. As far as the humans are concerned, there was a minor gas leak that caused some property damage. No casualties. Rimuru sat up slowly, testing his body. The exhaustion had faded, replaced by a humming energy that seemed to flow through his veins. Rias's brother, Sears Lucifer, one of the 4 great Satans who rule the underworld. Akino's casual tone belied the significance of her words. He was quite interested to hear about you. Quote, great. Not even a week in this new world, and he'd already attracted the attention of the devil equivalent of a king. The door slid open, and Rias entered, followed by Kiba and Kaneko. Good morning, Rimuru-kun. Feeling better? Much, thank you. He met her gaze directly. I suppose you have questions. Several dozen, she confirmed with a smile, taking a seat at the foot of his bed. But perhaps we should start with what you know about yourself and this situation. Rimuru considered how much to reveal. These devils had helped him, possibly saved his life. But trust came slowly in any world. In my previous life, I was a slime monster named Rimuru Tempest. Before that, I was a human named Satoru Mikami. I've been reincarnated before, but this time is different. He paused, gathering his thoughts. I had a dream before waking in this world. A girl calling herself Ophis, the infinite dragon god, said I carried something of hers. Ophis is real, Rias confirmed. One of the most powerful beings in existence, though she rarely interferes directly in worldly affairs. She seeks silence and a return to the dimensional gap where she originated. Then why would she have a son? Kiba wondered aloud. I don't think she intended to, Rimuru said slowly. In the dream, she seemed surprised by whatever she found in my soul. Kaneko, who had been silently observing, suddenly spoke. Fragmentation. All eyes turned to her. Explain, Kaneko, Rias prompted. Great Red forced Ophis from the dimensional gap. She created snakes from her power to try regaining her home. Parts of her power could have, fragmented. Formed something new. She looked at Rimuru. You're suggesting I'm essentially a piece of Ophis that gained independence. Rimuru frowned. But that doesn't explain my memories of other lives. Reincarnation is the cycle of souls, Akino mused. Perhaps your soul, originally a fragment of Ophis, has been cycling through lives, gathering experiences. Until it finally developed enough to manifest her divine essence. It sounded plausible, if bizarre. But then, Rimuru's entire existence had been one impossibility after another. That hunter, Kala, called me the spawn of the Ouroboros dragon. She seemed to think my core would be valuable. Rias's expression darkened. Divine essence has many uses, crafting sacred gear, empowering rituals. Even ascending to godhood under the right circumstances. If you truly carry Ophis's essence, you'll be hunted by more than just Kala. Wonderful, Rimuru muttered. I just wanted to attend high school. A small smile tugged at Rias's lips. Well, you can still do that. Under our protection. He raised an eyebrow. In exchange for becoming part of my peerage, of course. Seeing his expression, she quickly added, it would be mutually beneficial. You'd gain allies, information, and a place to belong in this world. I'd gain a powerful new servant. I'm not interested in being anyone's servant. Rimuru said firmly. His days of servitude had ended long ago, when he evolved from a simple slime into a named being. Rather than being offended, Rias looked thoughtful. I understand. Perhaps an alliance, then. We protect each other, share information, but maintain independence. That sounded more reasonable. I could agree to that. Excellent. She stood, smoothing her skirt. Rest today. Tomorrow, we'll begin teaching you about this world and its factions. You'll need to understand the political landscape if you're going to survive here. As they filed out, Akino lingered behind. One more thing, she said quietly. If you're truly Ophis's son, you should know, she's been searching for something, or someone, for centuries. Perhaps it's been you all along. He thought sent a chill down Rimuru's spine. What did a primordial dragon god want with him? And what would happen when they finally met face to face? Sunday passed in a blur of information. Rias and her peerage took turns explaining the complex supernatural ecosystem of this world, the three factions: devils, angels, and fallen angels who had fought a devastating war centuries ago, the current cold peace between them, the existence of other mythological pantheons, the artificial sacred gears created by God before his death, the rating games that determined status among devils. By evening, Rimuru's head was spinning with names, alliances, and potential threats. This is more complicated than demon politics, he complained as they sat around the table at Akino's shrine. And you haven't even heard about the Chaos Brigade yet, Kiba said with a sympathetic smile. Actually, Rias interjected, that's relevant to your situation. The Chaos Brigade is a terrorist organization composed of several factions, one of which is led by Ophis herself. Rimuru nearly choked on his tea. What? The infinite dragon god seeks to return to the dimensional gap, which is currently occupied by Great Red, the Apocalypse Dragon. She formed the Chaos Brigade to help achieve this goal, though most members have their own agendas. Great, Rimuru muttered. So my supposed mother is a terrorist leader. Anything else I should know? Rias hesitated, exchanging glances with Akino. There are rumors that Ophis has been weakened recently, forced to split her power. Split her power. Rimuru frowned. Could that be connected to what Kala said about me? Possibly, Akino mused, though the timing seems off. You said you've lived multiple lives before this one, but Ophis's power was reportedly split only recently. Time was strange between dimensions, Rimuru knew. His own transitions between worlds had involved temporal anomalies. Perhaps what seemed like centuries to him had been moments for Ophis, or vice versa. We should focus on practical matters, Rias decided. Rimuru-kun needs to learn to control his powers before someone else comes hunting him. And how do I do that? Rimuru asked. I've always had instinctive control over my abilities, but this void energy feels different. Wild. Through practice, Kiba suggested. We can help you train. Kaneko nodded. I'll spar with you. We should start tonight. Rias decided. There's a barrier around the shrine that will conceal your energy signature while you practice. Rimuru agreed, though privately he wondered if even Devi LS of their caliber could help him master the power of a dragon god. The training session proved both enlightening and frustrating. In his slime form, Rimuru had possessed incredible versatility, absorption, mimicry, analysis. His void powers seemed more limited in scope but vastly deeper in potential. He could create barriers of pure nothingness, form weapons and shields from solidified void, and even teleport short distances by stepping through tiers in space. But each use drained him quickly, and maintaining control required intense concentration. You're thinking too much, Kaneko observed. After knocking him down for the 5th time. Let it flow naturally. Easy for you to say, Rimuru grumbled, picking himself up. You've had years to master your abilities. Try instinct, she suggested. Not thought. Rimuru closed his eyes, reaching for that cold core within him. Instead of trying to shape it with his will, he simply let go. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Darkness exploded outward, enveloping him in a cocoon of void energy. When it receded, Rimuru had changed. His eyes glowed with inner darkness, his hair had lengthened and turned pure black, and shadow-like wings extended from his back. Impressive, Rias murmured, approaching cautiously. How do you feel? Strong, Rimuru answered, surprised by the resonant quality of his voice. Connected to something vast. Akino circled him, eyes wide with fascination. The wings aren't physical, she noted. More like manifestations of your power, similar to a devil's wings. Rimuru flexed them experimentally. They responded to his thoughts, spreading wide before folding close against his back. Can you fly with them? Kiba asked. Before Rimuru could answer, a cold presence washed over the shrine. The barrier around them flickered, struggling against some external pressure. Someone's coming, Kaneko said, tensing. Kala, Rimuru guessed, readying himself for another fight. Rias shook her head, looking troubled. No, this is different. Older. The pressure intensified until the barrier shattered like glass. Reality itself seemed to fold inward, creating a doorway where none had existed before. Out stepped the gothic Lolita girl from Rimuru's dreams. Ophis, the infinite dragon god. She looked exactly as he remembered, petite, pale, with emotionless black eyes that reflected eternity. Her gaze fixed on Rimuru, specifically on the shadow wings extending from his back. Found you, she said simply. Rias and her peerage immediately dropped to one knee, recognizing the presence of a being far beyond their comprehension. Even Rimuru felt an instinctive urge to bow before this primordial creature. Ophis-sama, Rias said carefully. We are honored by your presence. The dragon god ignored her completely. Walking directly to Rimuru, she reached up, touching his face with cool fingers. Curious. You have returned to me, yet you are not me. What do you mean? Rimuru asked, finding his voice. Am I really your son? Son, she repeated, as if testing the word. Human concept. Inaccurate but acceptable. She tilted her head. You were part of me. Then separated. Now evolved. Different, yet same. Her cryptic way of speaking reminded Rimuru of Veldora at his most obtuse. Was I sent away? Why don't I remember you before my dream? Not sent. Stolen. For the first time, Emotio. N flickered across her face, a momentary flash of anger. When I was forced from the gap. When I was diminished. Her fingers traced the outline of his wings. A fragment of my essence, torn away. I thought it destroyed. Instead, it became you. The divine hunter, Kala, she came after me. Said my core would be valuable. Ophis nodded. Many would seek to consume or control what you are. What you will become. And what is that? Exactly. Rimuru pressed. Potential. The dragon god stepped back, regarding him with those bottomless eyes. You carry my essence but walk your own path. You have lived many lives. Gathered much experience. Grown in ways I cannot. She turned, regarding the kneeling devils with mild interest. You have found companions already. Good. You will need allies. For what? Rias dared to ask. Ophis glanced her way. War comes. The factions gather. The Red One grows restless. And now there are two who carry the infinite. Are you here to take Rimuru-kun away? Akeno asked, a protective edge to her voice that surprised Rimuru. No, Ophis returned her gaze to Rimuru. He must grow stronger first. Learn to control what he is becoming. Then, when ready, we will speak again. She reached into her dress pocket and withdrew a small object, a pendant shaped like a serpent devouring its tail. Take this. It will shield your presence from those who hunt divine beings. It will also help channel your power. Rimuru accepted the pendant, feeling a resonance with the void energy inside him. Thank you. Ophis nodded once. We will meet again, my fragment son. Grow strong. She turned to leave, then paused. The hunter who found you, be wary. She serves powers older than myself. With that cryptic warning, she stepped back through the reality fold, which sealed seamlessly behind her. For several moments, no one spoke. Then Rias exhaled shakily. Well, she said, attempting to sound casual, it's not every day the infinite dragon god drops by for a chat. Rimuru stared at the pendant in his palm. It pulsed with power, familiar yet alien. She didn't really answer any of my questions. Gods rarely do, Akeno said, rising gracefully. But she confirmed you're important to her. That alone offers some protection. Kaneko approached, sniffing the air around Rimuru. You smell more like her now. After transformation, Rimuru realized he was still in his enhanced form. With glowing eyes and shadow wings. With a thought, he let the power recede, returning to his human appearance. The effort left him dizzy. You need rest, Rias decided. We all do. Tomorrow is a school day, after all. The normalcy of the statement, Worrying about school after an encounter with a primordial dragon god struck Rimuru as absurd. He laughed, the sound tinged with hysteria. School. Right. Wouldn't want to miss that. Monday morning arrived with disorienting normality. Rimuru walked to school wearing Ophis's pendant beneath his uniform, trying to process everything that had happened over the weekend. He'd been reincarnated again, this time as the apparent son of a dragon god. He'd discovered powerful void abilities that connected him to nothingness itself. He'd mad allies, or at least non-enemies, of a group of devils. And he'd learned that various factions would likely try to kill or capture him for his divine essence. All while trying to maintain cover as a high school student. Yo, Tempest. Issei Hyodo jogged up beside him. Heard you caused some excitement Friday. Gas leak in the old building. Right. The cover story. Yeah, crazy stuff, Rimuru replied absently. Sucks that you missed the kendo tournament on Saturday. This third year, Murayama, did this awesome move where she, Issei continued chattering, blissfully unaware of the supernatural complexities surrounding them. Yet Rimuru could sense that dormant power within Issei more clearly now, especially with Ophis's pendant enhancing his perception. Whatever the boy carried inside him, it was significant, draconic in nature but different from Rimuru's own void energy. Their conversation halted as they entered the school gates. Students were gathered in clusters, whispering excitedly about something. What's going on? Rimuru asked. Issei shrugged. No idea. Let's find out. They approached a nearby group, where a girl was reading aloud from her phone, another victim found this morning. Marking the 5th disappearance this month. Police have no leads but warn residents to avoid being alone after dark. More disappearances. Issei frowned. That's messed up. Has this been happening a lot? Rimuru asked. Suddenly alert. Started a few weeks ago, Issei explained. People vanishing without a trace. Mostly at night, mostly alone. They found the first couple eventually, not alive. He shuddered. My parents have been freaking out, implementing curfews and stuff. Rimuru's instincts, honed through centuries of leadership and warfare, immediately suspected supernatural involvement. Normal human predators didn't leave, no traces, when police investigated. As if sensing his thoughts, Rias appeared beside them. Hyodo-kun, Tempest-kun, good morning, she greeted with a pleasant smile that didn't reach her eyes. Tempest-kun, the student council was hoping to speak with you about your transfer paperwork. Would you mind coming with me? Sure, Rimuru agreed, recognizing the pretext. See you in class, Issei. Issei gave him a jealous look as Rias led him away. Once they were alone in an empty hallway, Rias's expression turned serious. You've heard about the disappearances. Just now. You think it's supernatural? She nodded grimly. Definitely. The victims are completely drained of life force. Not just blood, but spiritual energy. It's not a vampire or typical devil. Could it be related to Kala? Divine hunters? Possibly, though the pattern doesn't fit what we know of them. Rias glanced around before continuing quietly. My brother asked us to investigate. Since it's happening in our territory, I'd like your help. Rimuru touched the pendant beneath his shirt. I'm not exactly inconspicuous in the supernatural world right now. Actually, with that pendant, you're better hidden than any of us. Plus, your abilities might let you sense things we can't. She hesitated. Also, Akino had a dream last night. She has minor prophetic abilities. And she saw you standing between Kuo and darkness. That's vague. Rias smiled ruefully. Prophecies usually are. But it confirms you have a role to play here. Rimuru sighed. Some things never changed. No matter what world he inhabited. There was always another crisis, another battle, another responsibility. Part of him, the part that remembered being a simple slime, longed for simpler days. But a larger part, the leader who had built Tempest into a nation, recognized the familiar call to action. All right, what's the plan? Classes dragged by with excruciating slowness while Rimuru's mind raced through possibilities. By the final bell, he'd mentally catalogued every supernatural threat he'd learned about that could be responsible for the disappearances. The occult research club room was tense when he arrived. Maps of Kuo covered one wall, with red pins marking disappearance locations. Photos of victims lined another wall, ordinary people of various ages and backgrounds. No obvious connection between victims. Kiba explained, noting Rimuru's attention to the photos. Different ages, genders, occupations. Except proximity to the old shrine forest, Rias added, pointing to the map. All vanished within a kilometer of it. What's in the forest? Rimuru asked. Abandoned shrines, mostly, Akino answered. Sacred ground once, but largely forgotten now. We've patrolled it before but found nothing unusual. Until recently, Kaneko interjected. Strange smell last week, like rot and flowers. Rimuru studied the map more closely. The disappearances formed a rough circle around the forest. As if something was systematically hunting outward from a central point. It's getting bolder, he observed. The first victims were taken from isolated areas. The most recent ones from more populated streets. Rias nodded grimly. Which is why we're investigating tonight. Whatever it is, it's escalating. What about Issei? Rimuru asked suddenly, remembering the dormant power he'd sensed. Should we warn him to stay indoors? The devils exchanged glances. Hyodo has special circumstances, Rias said carefully. We're already watching him. Before Rimuru could press for details, the door opened. A young woman with short black hair and glasses entered, her expression severe. Sona, Rias greeted her. Thank you for coming. Of course. The newcomer's eyes fixed on Rimuru with sharp assessment. This is him, Ophis's offspring. Son of Ophis, Rias corrected. And yes, this is Rimuru Tempest. Rimuru, this is Sona Citri, heir to the House of Citri and president of the Student Council. Another devil, Rimuru guessed, earning a curt nod from Sona. My peerage and I will assist with tonight's investigation, she said. We'll take the eastern quadrant of the forest. Thank you, Rias replied. We'll take the western approach. Rimuru-kun will come with us. Sona adjusted her glasses, studying Rimuru with clinical interest. I've informed my sister of his presence, as agreed. Rimuru raised an eyebrow at Rias, who had the grace to look slightly abashed. Seraphal Leviathan is Sona's older sister, she explained. One of the 4 great Satans. Given your heritage, it seemed prudent to inform her. Great. Another powerful devil now knew about him. At this rate, the entire supernatural world would be aware of his existence within a week. Don't worry, Sona said, correctly interpreting his expression. My sister is eccentric but trustworthy. She's agreed to keep your presence quiet for now, though she's quite interested in meeting you. Somethi, Ing in her tone suggested this wasn't necessarily a good thing. We'll worry about that later, Rias decided. For now, we focus on finding whatever's hunting in our territory. Dusk settled over Kuo, as Rimuru followed Rias and her peerage into the forest shrine grounds. Ancient torii gates, weathered by centuries, marked the entrance to what had once been sacred space. Despite the overgrowth, Rimuru could sense lingering spiritual energy, faded but present. We'll split into pairs, Rias decided. Kiba with me, Kaneko with Akino. Rimuru-kun, can you manage alone? Your pendant should keep you concealed. Rimuru nodded, touching the serpent Ouroboros around his neck. I'll be fine. What exactly are we looking for? Anything unusual, Akino replied. Spiritual disturbances, traces of magic, signs of habitation. If you find something, flare your energy signature, Rias instructed. We'll come running. They separated, each group taking different paths into the darkening forest. Rimuru headed deeper, toward what appeared to be the oldest section of shrines. His eyes adjusted quickly to the darkness, another benefit of his void-touched nature. The first shrine he encountered was little more than a wooden skeleton. Roof long collapsed, altar cracked and covered in moss. No spiritual energy lingered here, whatever god it had honored was long forgotten. The second shrine was more intact but similarly abandoned. Rimuru was about to move on when something caught his eye, a symbol scratched into the wooden support beam. 3 interlocking circles arranged in a triangle. He traced it with his finger, feeling a faint resonance with his void energy. This wasn't Japanese in origin. It reminded him of the magical scripts from his previous world. A twig snapped behind him. Rimuru spun, darkness gathering instinctively around his hands. Nothing was visible, but his senses screamed danger. "Show yourself," he commanded, voice echoing with subtle power. Silence answered him, heavy and expectant. Then, slowly, the shadows between the trees began to move, not simply shifting, but flowing together, coalescing into a humanoid shape. A woman stepped forward, though, woman, seemed inadequate. Her beauty was unearthly, skin pale as moonlight, hair black as the void between stars, eyes like liquid silver. She wore a kimono of deepest purple, patterned with white flowers that seemed to move subtly across the fabric. "Son of Infinity," she greeted, her voice melodic yet unsettling, like wind through a graveyard. "How interesting to find you here." Rimuru maintained his defensive stance. "Who are you?" She smiled, revealing teeth too sharp to be human. "I have many names, across many traditions. In this land, they once called me Izanami." The name triggered recognition in Rimuru's borrowed knowledge of this world, the goddess of death and creation in Japanese mythology, trapped in the underworld after her failed resurrection. "The legends say you're confined to Yomi," he said cautiously. Her smile widened. "Legends change. Barriers weaken. Gods adapt." She circled him slowly, predatory grace in every movement. "The question is, what are you doing in my forest, little dragon?" "Investigating disappearances," Rimuru answered, seeing no reason to lie to a deity. "People have gone missing around these shrines." "Ah, yes. The mortals." She sighed dramatically. "Collateral damage, I'm afraid. My emergence requires energy." Alarm bells rang in Rimuru's mind. "You're responsible for the missing people. You're killing them." "Consuming," she corrected, as if the distinction mattered. "Their life force feeds my manifestation. I've been trapped between realms for too long, neither fully in Yomi nor fully in the mortal world. But soon, I will walk freely again." Rimuru's void energy pulsed, responding to his anger. "I can't let you continue killing innocent people." Izanami laughed, the sound like breaking glass. "You misunderstand, son of Infinity. I'm not asking permission." Her form flickered, momentarily revealing something rotted and horrific beneath the beautiful facade. "Though I am curious why Ophis's offspring concerns himself with human lives." "Your mother certainly doesn't." "I'm not my mother," Rimuru said firmly. He needed to alert Rias and the others, but sending an energy flare would leave him momentarily vulnerable. He had to keep Izanami talking. "Why emerge now, after centuries?" "The barriers between realms are thinning," she replied, seeming pleased to elaborate. "Gods long forgotten are stirring. The Christian pantheon's decline accelerated the process, their god's death left opportunities." She gestured to the symbol Rimuru had noticed earlier. "The old ways are returning. Those of us once bound are finding paths back to the mortal realm. And the first thing you do is start killing people." Rimuru couldn't keep the disgust from his voice. Izanami's expression hardened. "Judge not what you don't understand, Godling. Rebirth requires sacrifice. Would you deny a starving woman food because the wheat feels pain when harvested? There's a difference between wheat and sentient beings. Not to one such as I." She stepped closer, her scent, lotus blossoms and decay, washing over him. "You're young yet, barely awakened to your divine nature. In time, you'll understand that mortals are merely resources." "I've lived multiple lives," Rimuru countered. "I've been human. I've ruled a nation of monsters. I understand the value of life better than you think." Something flashed in her silver eyes, surprise, perhaps even respect. "Interesting. Ophis created something unexpected in you." She tilted her head, studying him anew. "I had planned to drain you as well. Divine essence would accelerate my manifestation considerably, perhaps we could arrange something more mutual. I'm not interested in deals with someone who sees people as batteries." Her expression cooled. "Pride. Another mortal failing you haven't outgrown." She sighed. "Very well. We'll do this the unpleasant way." Before Rimuru could react, the ground beneath him erupted with skeletal hands, dozens of them, grasping at his ankles, his clothes, dragging him downward. He called upon his void energy, creating a barrier that severed the grasping limbs, but more replaced them immediately. I am death, little dragon, Izanami said calmly, watching his struggle. Every soul that has passed through Yomi remains connected to me. You fight an army of billions. Rimuru had faced overwhelming odds before. As a slime, he developed countermeasures, tactics, analyzed weaknesses. He needed to do the same now. Focusing on Ophis's pendant, he channeled void energy through it, feeling the power magnify. Darkness spread outward in a shockwave, disintegrating the skeletal hands and creating a momentary reprieve. Not bad, Izanami admitted. But futile. She raised her hand, and the forest around them began to warp. Trees twisted into grotesque shapes, their branches reaching for Rimuru-like claws. The ground softened, becoming swamp-like, threatening to swallow him. Rimuru recognized what was happening. She was transforming this section of forest into an extension of Yomi. Her realm of power. This was his chance. He flared his energy signature, a beacon that would bring Rias and the others running. Izanami noticed immediately. Calling your devil friends. They cannot help you against a goddess. Maybe not alone, Rimuru agreed, buying time as he felt multiple energy signatures converging on their location. But they're not fighting alone either. He embraced the void within him fully, allowing the transformation he'd experienced during training. Darkness enveloped him, emerging as those shadow wings, his eyes glowing with inner void light. The pendant at his throat pulsed, channeling and focusing his power. Izanami's eyes widened slightly. You access more of your divine nature than I expected. I'm full of surprises, Rimuru replied, his voice layered with power. The twisted forest around them shuddered as reality reasserted itself. Rias in her peerage had arrived, along with Sona Citri and several others Rimuru didn't recognize. They formed a circle around the confrontation, power flaring in preparation for battle. Izanami no Makoto, Rias said, her voice steady despite facing a primordial goddess. You trespass in Devi, L territory and violate the non-interference pact between pantheons. The death goddess turned slowly, surveying the newcomers with amused disdain. Devils invoking pacts. How the mighty have fallen. Her gaze lingered on Sona. The Citri girl. Your ancestor made offerings at my shrine once. He understood proper respect. Times change, Sona replied coolly. The old gods must adapt or fade away. I have chosen adaptation, Izanami said, spreading her arms. The beautiful facade flickered again, revealing glimpses of rotting flesh and maggot-filled eye sockets. Though not in the manner you might prefer. A tall blonde woman stepped forward from Sona's group, twirling what appeared to be a magic staff. We've dealt with rogue deities before. Have you, little devil? Izanami's laugh echoed unnaturally. I think not. With frightening speed, she thrust her hand toward the blonde devil. A spear of pure darkness materialized, piercing the girl's shoulder before anyone could react. She collapsed with a cry of pain, her companions rushing to her aid. Enough, Rimuru declared, stepping between Izanami and the devils. This is between you and me now. The goddess regarded him with genuine curiosity. Why do you protect them? Son of Infinity, devils, humans, they are beneath you. No one is beneath anyone, Rimuru replied firmly. Worth isn't determined by power or longevity. It's determined by actions. Izanami's expression shifted to something almost like pity. Such mortal thinking. Very well, show me your divine worth, Godeling. Prove your conviction with power. She struck without warning, a blast of necrotic energy that would have instantly killed any mortal. Rimuru met it with a wall of void, the two forces canceling each other in a spectacular collision that shook the forest. Rimuru didn't wait for her next attack. He charged forward, void energy coalescing around his hands into curved blades. Izanami parried with weapons of her own, bone swords that materialized from nothing. They clashed in a blur of movement, each strike sending shockwaves through the surrounding area. Rimuru found himself drawing on combat experience from his previous life, when he'd battled demons and heroes alike. You fight well, Izanami acknowledged, blocking another strike. But you lack killing intent. You cannot defeat death without embracing it. She was right. Rimuru had always been reluctant to kill, preferring to subdue or convert enemies when possible. But this wasn't a battle he could win with half measures. Drawing deeper on his connection to the void, Rimuru felt Summit shift within him, a doorway opening to power he hadn't accessed before. Ophis's words echoed in his mind, potential. His shadow wings expanded, growing larger, more substantial. The darkness around him deepened, becoming less like absence and more like concentrated infinity. What are you doing? Izanami demanded, a note of uncertainty entering her voice for the first time. Rimuru didn't answer with words. Instead, he reached out with his void energy, not to attack but to envelop, to create a pocket dimension similar to what he'd formed during his battle with Kala, but with a crucial difference. This space wasn't empty, it was filled with his will, his essence. The forest around them faded from view as reality folded inward. Only Rimuru and Izanami remained, suspended in a space between spaces. Impossible, the goddess whispered, looking around with growing alarm. You're too young to create dimensional barriers this stable. I told you, Rimuru replied calmly. I've lived multiple lives. I've had practice. In truth, he was drawing on instinctive knowledge, the inheritance of Ophis flowing through him. But the application, the strategy, that came from his experiences as Rimuru Tempest. What do you intend? Izanami demanded, gathering her own power defensively. You cannot kill me. I am death itself. I don't want to kill you, Rimuru said truthfully. I want to bind you. Understanding dawned in her silver eyes. You would trap me in your void. That's beyond your capability. Maybe, Rimuru agreed, but I can try. He extended his hands, void energy flowing outward in tendrils that surrounded Izanami. She fought back fiercely, necrotic power clashing with pure nothingness. The dimensional pocket shuddered under the strain of containing their battle. Even if you succeed, she hissed, it won't last. I am ancient, Godeling. I will outlast your binding. Probably, Rimuru conceded, but it will give me time to find a permanent solution. And it will stop you from killing more innocent people. Izanami's face contorted with rage. You dare judge me, you, barely awakened to your divinity. I have existed since the first human breathed. I have watched civilizations rise and fall. And learned nothing from them, apparently, Rimuru retorted. With a scream of fury, Izanami unleashed her full power, a tidal wave of death energy that threatened to overwhelm him. Rimuru met it with everything he had. Void versus death, oblivion versus decay. For a moment, the outcome hung in balance. Then Rimuru felt the pendant at his throat pulse, connecting him more deeply to his inherited power. A surge of void energy flooded through him, tipping the scales. The tendrils of darkness wrapped tightly around Izanami, constricting, limiting her movement, her power. She fought with increasing desperation as the binding took hold. This isn't over, she snarled as the void energy began to cocoon her completely. Gods are returning to this world, son of infinity. The old order stirs. You have made a powerful enemy today. Wouldn't be the first time, Rimuru replied, maintaining his concentration as the binding neared completion. With a final surge of power, he sealed the cocoon, encasing Izanami in layers of void. The goddess's form became indistinct within the dark shell, then invisible altogether. Only her voice remained, fading slowly. We will meet again, Rimuru Tempest. And next time, I will not underestimate Ophis's son. The dimensional pocket collapsed as Rimuru's strength gave out. Reality rushed back in, the forest shrine materializing around him. He fell to his knees. Exhausted beyond measure, Rias was at his side instantly. Rimuru-kun, are you all right? He nodded weakly, gesturing to the dark cocoon floating where Izanami had stood. She's contained, for now. Sona approached cautiously, examining the void construct. What did you do? Bound her in void energy, Rimuru explained, his voice hoarse. It won't hold forever, but it should give us time. Time for what? Asked a tall, bespectacled young man from Sona's group. To find a more permanent solution. Rimuru struggled to his feet, Rias supporting him. She said gods are returning to this world. That the barriers between realms are weakening. The devils exchanged troubled glances. If that's true, Rias said slowly, we need to inform the Mao. This could affect the balance between factions. First, we need to secure this binding, Sona decided. My sister can create a holding dimension for it until a permanent solution is found. Rimuru nodded tiredly. Good. And the victims? The missing people? A shadow crossed Rias's face. If Izanami consumed their life force as she claimed, they're gone. But at least we've prevented more deaths. Cold comfort, but better than nothing. Rimuru stared at the void cocoon containing the death goddess, wondering what other ancient deities might be stirring, what other threats might be emerging from the shadows of myth. What role the son of Ophis would play in the coming storm. The next few days passed in a blur of recovery and debriefing. Seraphal Leviathan herself had arrived to transport Izanami's bound form to a secure holding dimension. The Mao had been eccentrically cheerful despite the gravity of the situation, treating Rimuru with a mixture of fascination and wariness. Ophis's son Kun is so amazing, she had exclaimed while creating a complex magic circle around the void cocoon. Creating a dimensional binding on your first try. Sona-chan, why can't you do cool things like that? Sona had merely sighed, apparently accustomed to her sister's antics. Now, sitting in the occult research club room after school, Rimuru found himself the center of attention once again as they discussed the implications of recent events. The disappearances have stopped, Kiba reported. And my contacts in the supernatural community confirm that the symbol Rimuru-kun found has appeared at other sites around the world. The three interlocking circles? Rimuru asked. Akino nodded, unfurling an ancient scroll on the table. It displayed the same symbol, surrounded by text in a language Rimuru didn't recognize. It's called the Triquetra Aeternum, the Eternal Trinity. It's associated with primordial deities across multiple pantheons. According to this, Rias continued, gesturing to the scroll, it serves as an anchor point for divine manifestation. Essentially, it weakens the barriers between realms, allowing gods to project their presence into the mortal world. Which explains how Izanami was able to begin manifesting, Rimuru mused. But who's creating these symbols? And why now? That remains unclear, Rias admitted. But my brother believes it may be connected to the Chaos Brigade. Ophis's terrorist organization, Rimuru remembered. Why would she want other gods to return? Perhaps she doesn't, Akino suggested. The Chaos Brigade has multiple factions, each with their own agenda. One of those factions, the old Satan faction, seeks to overthrow the current devil government. They might see returning gods as potential allies. Or they might be unaware of what they're actually facilitating, Kiba added. Divine magic is complex and unpredictable. Rimuru touched the Ouroboros pendant at his throat thoughtfully. Izanami mentioned that the death of the biblical god accelerated the process. Created opportunities. Rias nodded grimly. The God of the Bible maintained numerous seals and barriers throughout reality. With his death, those have been gradually weakening. The angels try to maintain them. But it's increasingly difficult. So we could be looking at more incidents like this, Rimuru concluded. More forgotten gods attempting to return. Not all returning deities would be hostile, Akino pointed out. Many ancient gods coexisted peacefully with humans before being forgotten. But power-hungry ones would be drawn to manifestation first, Kaneko said quietly. Like Izanami, the room fell silent as they contemplated the implications. Rimuru felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders, a familiar burden from his days as a nation's leader, yet somehow heavier now. I should speak with Ophis, he said finally. If anyone understands what's happening, it would be her. That could be dangerous, Rias cautioned. The Chaos Brigade is actively hunted by all three factions. If you're seen with Ophis. I know, but she's the closest thing I have to a parent in this world. Rimuru smiled wryly, dysfunctional as that relationship might be. Before anyone could respond, the door opened to reveal Sona Citri, her expression even more serious than usual. We have a problem, she announced without preamble. The fallen angels have detected unusual activity near the abandoned church. They believe someone is attempting to steal sacred gear from its bearers. Sacred gear? Rimuru questioned. Artifacts created by the biblical god, containing powerful abilities. Rias explained quickly. They reincarnate with human hosts across generations. Understanding dawned. Is Issei one of these sacred gear bearers? Is that what I've been sensing in him? Rias nodded. Issei Hyodo possesses one of the 13 Longinus, the most powerful sacred gears. The boosted gear, containing the Red Dragon Emperor D-Drag. And now he's in danger, Sona added. We believe he's being targeted specifically. Rimuru stood immediately. Then what are we waiting for? We need to protect him. It's not that simple, Rias said, looking troubled. I've had plans for Issei. To add him to my peerage. You've been waiting for him to be attacked? Rimuru asked incredulously. Devils cannot interfere with humans until they're in mortal danger or request our help, Akino explained. It's part of the agreements between factions. That's absurd bureaucracy, Rimuru argued. If he's in danger now. Which is why I came to you, Sona interjected. As neither devil nor angel nor fallen. You're not bound by our non-interference agreements. You could protect Hyodo without violating the accords. Rimuru glanced at Rias, who looked conflicted. You still want him for your peerage. I do, she admitted. His sacred gear would be invaluable. But more importantly, if he dies and the boosted gear reincarnates elsewhere, the balance of power shifts unpredictably. Politics and power games. Some things never changed across worlds. But Rimuru had never been one to sacrifice individuals for abstract concepts like balance of power. I'll protect him, he decided. Without interfering with your plans if possible, Rias. But his life comes first. Relief flashed across her face. Thank you, Rimuru-kun. We'll support however we can without direct intervention. What exactly are we dealing with? Rimuru asked Sona. Who's targeting him? Fallen angels, we believe. A small group led by one called Rainer. They've been masquerading as humans in Kuo for several weeks. She adjusted her glasses. Our intelligence suggests they plan to move tonight. Rimuru fingered the Ouroboros pendant, feeling the void energy within him responding to his resolve. Then I'd better get moving. Rimuru found Issei leaving a manga store in the shopping district, arms loaded with new purchases, a carefree expression on his face. The boy had no idea of the danger surrounding him, of the power sleeping within him, of how his life was about to change irrevocably. Following at a discreet distance, Rimuru kept his senses alert for any supernatural presence. According to Rias, the fallen angels had been subtle so far, using human disguises to blend in. One had allegedly even approached Issei romantically, a girl calling herself Yuma Amano. As twilight deepened into evening, Issei took a shortcut through the park. Rimuru tensed, recognizing the tactical vulnerability of the location, open sightlines but few witnesses, especially at this hour. His instincts proved correct. A figure stepped onto the path ahead of Issei, a beautiful young woman with long black hair. Even from a distance, Rimuru could sense the disguised power within her. Issei-kun, she called, waving cheerfully. What a coincidence meeting you here. Yuma-chan. Issei's face lit up with obvious infatuation as he hurried forward. I wasn't expecting to see you until our date on Sunday. I know, but I was in the area and thought I might run into you. She giggled, the picture of an innocent schoolgirl. I'm so glad I did. Rimuru moved closer, staying hidden behind trees. LD feel other presences now, more fallen angels concealed nearby, waiting. Actually, Issei-kun, the girl continued, her voice suddenly taking on a seductive quality, I was wondering if you'd like to do something special tonight. Right now. Right now. Issei stammered, his teenage hormones clearly overwhelming his better judgment. Like what? Oh, something private. She stepped closer, trailing a finger down his chest. Something just between us. There's a secluded spot near the fountain. Rimuru had seen enough. Whatever their plan was, he wasn't going to let them lure Issei away. Issei, he called, stepping onto the path. There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. Both Issei and Yuma turned in surprise. Recognition followed by confusion crossed Issei's face. The girl's expression flickered momentarily to something cold and calculating before returning to its innocent mask. Rimuru, what are you doing here? We have that group project due tomorrow, remember? Rimuru improvised, approaching them. You were supposed to meet me at the library an hour ago. Group project. Issei frowned. I don't remember. Oh, you must be Issei-kun's classmate, the girl interrupted sweetly. Though her eyes had hardened. I'm Yuma Amano, his girlfriend. Rimuru Tempest, he replied with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. And actually, Issei needs to come with me right now. School obligations. You know, but Yuma-chan and I were just. It can wait until Sunday, Rimuru said firmly, gripping Issei's arm. Unless you want to fail the assignment. He could feel the tension radiating from the disguised fallen angel. Her plans were being disrupted, and she was clearly weighing her options. It's fine, Issei-kun, she said finally, her smile strained. We'll have plenty of time together on our date. Don't forget, Sunday at noon by the station fountain. I won't forget, Issei promised enthusiastically, completely missing the dangerous undercurrents. Rimuru maintained his grip on Issei's arm as they walked away. Once they were out of earshot, Issei pulled free, looking annoyed. What the hell, man? We don't have any group project. I know, Rimuru admitted. But we need to talk. That girl isn't what she seems. Issei's expression darkened. What are you talking about? Yuma-chan is my girlfriend. She's dangerous, Issei. Trust me on this. Is this some kind of jealousy thing? Issei demanded. Because if you're trying to sabotage my relationship. It's not that, Rimuru interrupted. Look, this is going to sound crazy, but you're in danger. That girl, Yuma, she's not human. Issei stared at him for a long moment before bursting into laughter. Right, and I suppose you're not human either. Come on, man. Rimuru sighed, realizing how his must sound to someone unaware of the supernatural world. I know it's hard to believe, but. He broke off as his senses detected rapid movement. The air shimmered as a spear of light materialized, hurtling directly toward Issei's back. Without hesitation, Rimuru shoved Issei aside, simultaneously creating a void shield. The light spear shattered against it, dispersing in a shower of luminescent particles. Issei fell to the ground, eyes wide with shock. What the? Get down, Rimuru commanded as three figures descended from the sky, wings black as night extending from their backs. One was clearly Yuma. Her schoolgirl disguise discarded in favor of a revealing outfit that emphasized her mature figure. The other two were men, one elderly with a fedora, the other a tall youth with blonde hair. Meddling brat. Yuma, or whatever her real name was, snarled at Rimuru. This doesn't concern you. Attacking innocent people in devil territory concerns me, Rimuru replied, positioning himself between the fallen angels and Issei. Why Yuma-chan? Issei stammered from the ground, staring at her wings in disbelief. What's happening? She glanced at him dismissively. Don't take it personally, Issei-kun. I just need that sacred gear inside you. Nothing personal. What are you talking about? Wings, light spears, sacred what? Issei looked desperately from her to Rimuru. Someone explain what's going on. The supernatural world is real, Rimuru said tersely, keeping his eyes on the three fallen angels. Angels, devils, gods, all real. And you have something they want. Enough talk, the elderly fallen angel declared. Kill them both, Rainer. We'll extract the sacred gear afterward. Rainer, her real name, apparently, created another light spear. Gladly, Danesik, the boy first, then this interfering pest. She lunged forward with supernatural speed, but Rimuru was faster. Void energy erupted around him, his eyes glowing with inner darkness as he parried her strike. What are you? She hissed, retreating a step. That's not devil power. I told you this didn't concern him, Rainer, the blonde fallen angel warned. His energy signature is wrong. Shut up, Millet, she snapped. 3 against 1. We can take him. Rimuru didn't wait for them to coordinate. Drawing on Ophis's pendant, he channeled void energy into an expanding dome that pushed the fallen angels back, giving him space to address Issei. Listen to me, he said urgently. You have a powerful artifact inside you, a sacred gear. They want to kill you and take it. I can protect you, but you need to trust me. Issei looked shell-shocked, his worldview crumbling around him. This is insane. How is this happening? Questions later, Rimuru insisted as the fallen angels regrouped. Run, I'll hold them off. But, now, Issei scrambled to his feet and ran, heading toward the park exit. Danasik, the elderly fallen angel, moved to pursue him, but Rimuru intercepted with a tendril of dark ness that wrapped around the man's ankle, yanking him back. Your fight is with me, Rimuru declared, allowing his transformation to complete. Shadow wings unfurled from his back as his hair darkened to pure black. Void energy swirling around him like a living shroud. All three fallen angels faltered, clearly reassessing the threat level. What manner of creature are you? Danasik demanded. Rimuru smiled grimly. The son of Ophis. Their reactions were immediate and visceral: shock, disbelief, and most notably, fear. Impossible, Rainer whispered. Ophis doesn't have offspring. Yet here I stand. Rimuru gathered void energy between his palms, condensing it into a sphere of perfect nothingness. Last chance to retreat. Millet, the blonde fallen angel, was already backing away. Rainer, we should report this. Azazel would want to know. We finish the mission, she insisted, though her voice wavered. The sacred gear bearer is escaping. She launched herself skyward, clearly intending to pursue Issei from above. Rimuru reacted instantly, throwing the void sphere. It exploded in midair, creating a temporary anti-flight zone that dragged Rainer back to Earth. You cannot interfere with Lord Azazel's plans. Danasik shouted, launching a barrage of light spears. Rimuru dodged most and absorbed the rest into his void energy. Somehow I doubt Azazel ordered the murder of teenagers. The fight escalated quickly, with all three fallen angels attacking simultaneously. Rimuru found himself drawing deeper on his void powers, creating constructs and barriers that countered their light-based attacks. The Ouroboros pendant glowed against his chest, channeling and amplifying his abilities. Despite being outnumbered, Rimuru held his own. His combat experience from previous lives served him well, allowing him to anticipate their movements and counter effectively. But he was conscious of time passing. He needed to end this quickly and find Issei before other threats emerged. An opportunity came when Rainer overextended on an attack. Rimuru caught her arm, void energy spreading up her limb like living frost. She screamed as the cold emptiness numbed her powers. What are you doing to me? She shrieked. Temporarily binding your abilities, Rimuru answered, releasing her. She fell to her knees, staring at her arm in horror as the void energy continued spreading. Stop it, Millet pleaded, ceasing his attacks. We'll retreat. Danasik looked furious but nodded reluctantly. Release her, and we'll withdraw. Rimuru considered his options. He could probably defeat all three. But unnecessary violence had never been his style. And if they reported to their leader Azazel, perhaps the fallen angel governor would rein in these rogue operatives. Swear on your grace that you'll leave Issei Hyodo alone, he demanded. We swear, Millet said quickly. Danasik nodded stiffly. On my grace, we will not pursue the sacred gear bearer tonight. Rimuru noted the careful wording but decided it was the best he'd get. With a gesture, he withdrew the void energy from Rainer's arm. She gasped in relief, flexing her fingers as sensation returned. Remember this, Rimuru warned. The next time you attack an innocent in my presence, I won't be as merciful. Rainer glared at him with naked hatred but allowed her companions to help her up. This isn't over, she hissed. For tonight, it is, Rimuru countered. Go. The three fallen angels retreated, taking to the air and quickly disappearing into the night sky. Rimuru maintained his guard until he was certain they were gone, then released his transformed state, returning to his human appearance. Now to find Issei before the poor kid had a complete breakdown. Rimuru found him a few blocks away, huddled on a bench, staring blankly ahead with the 1,000-yard stare of someone whose reality had just been shattered. Issei, Rimuru called softly, approaching slowly to avoid startling him. The boy looked up, his eyes hollow with shock. They're gone. Quote, for now. Rimuru sat beside him, giving him space. Are you okay? Issei laughed, a brittle sound edging on hysteria. Am I okay? My girlfriend has black wing. And tried to kill me with a glowing spear. You turned into some kind of shadow creature. So yeah, I'm just peachy. I know it's a lot to process, Rimuru said sympathetically. What did she mean about something inside me? A sacred gear. Quote. Rimuru considered how much to reveal. Rias had plans for Issei, but the boy deserved some explanation after nearly being murdered. Sacred gears are powerful artifacts created by the biblical god. He explained. They're bound to human souls and reincarnate in new hosts across generations. You apparently have one, and a very powerful one at that. Inside me, like an alien parasite. More like an inheritance. Part of your soul now. Issei ran his hands through his hair, clearly struggling. This is insane. Yesterday my biggest worry was whether Yuma would let me hold her hand on our date. Now I find out she's some kind of monster who wanted to kill me for this thing I didn't even know I had. She's a fallen angel, Rimuru corrected. Angels who were cast out of heaven. And what are you? You said you're the son of Ophis. It's complicated, Rimuru hedged. Let's just say I'm relatively new to this world too. Issei stared at him for a long moment. Does everyone at school know about this stuff except me? Is Grimori-senpai some kind of monster too? Rimuru winced at the term but nodded. Rias Grimori is a devil. So are several others at school. Devils. Angels. Fallen angels. Issei laughed again, that same brittle sound. What's next? Gods walking around. Actually, Rimuru began, then thought better of it. One crisis at a time. They sat in silence for a few moments, Issei processing, Rimuru keeping watch for any return of the fallen angels. So what happens now? Issei finally asked. You have options, Rimuru replied carefully. You can try to ignore all this and live a normal life, but that sacred gear inside you makes you a target. The fallen angels will try again. Great. Issei's shoulders slumped. What are my other options? You could seek protection. There are factions that would be interested in offering it, though usually with strings attached. Like becoming one of them. Issei guessed shrewdly, becoming a devil or whatever. Rimuru nodded. Rias Grimori would likely offer you a place in her peerage, her group of reincarnated devils. It would mean giving up your humanity, but you'd gain power, extended lifespan, and protection. Quote. Issei absorbed this, his expression conflicted. And what about you? What's your stake in all this? I'm just trying to help, Rimuru said honestly. I know what it's like to be thrown into a world you don't understand, with powers you never asked for. Before Issei could respond, Rimuru sensed a familiar energy signature approaching. Speak of the devil, he murmured. Just as a crimson magic circle appeared on the ground nearby. Rias Grimori stepped out of it, looking concerned. Tempest-kun, Hyodo-kun. Are you both alright? We detected fallen angel activity. You knew, Issei said flatly, staring at her. You knew about all of this, about what I am, about what Yuma is. You knew she was targeting me. Rias had the grace to look slightly abashed. We suspected, she admitted. But there are rules about interference. Rules, Issei repeated bitterly. Rules that would have let me die if Rimuru hadn't stepped in. I'm sorry you were put in danger, Rias said. Her tone sincere despite the political calculation Rimuru could see in her eyes. But now that you're aware of the supernatural world, I can offer you protection. By making me a devil, Issei concluded. By making you part of my family, Rias corrected gently. My peerage is more than just servants, they're my precious companions. Rimuru watched the exchange with mixed feelings. Rias seemed genuinely to care for her peerage members, but there was no denying the power dynamic involved. Still, Issei needed protection, and the Grimori clan could provide it. You don't have to decide right now, Rimuru told Issei. Take time to think about it. Rias nodded in agreement. Rimuru-kun is right. This is a significant decision that will change your life forever. But please understand that the fallen angels will return, likely with reinforcements. And I can't keep fighting them off indefinitely, Rimuru added reluctantly. Issei looked between them, his expression gradually hardening into resolve. Can this sacred gear thing inside me be awakened? Can I learn to use it to protect myself? Potentially, Rias replied. Sacred gears respond to their wielders' will and emotional state. In moments of extreme danger or determination, they often activate. Then I want to try, Issei decided. Before I commit to becoming something else, I want to know what I already am. Rimuru felt a surge of respect for the boy. Despite his shock and fear, he was showing remarkable courage. I can help with that, Rias offered. My peerage includes members with sacred gears. They can guide you in awakening yours. And I'll continue watching your back while you figure things out, Rimuru promised. For the first time since the attack, Issei managed a genuine smile. Thanks, both of you. He looked at Rimuru curiously. So if you're not a devil or an angel, and you're the son of someone called Ophis, what exactly does that make you? Rimuru smiled wryly, still figuring that out myself. But apparently, I'm part dragon god. Issei's eyes widened. Dragon god. Like, an actual god. The infinite dragon god, Rias clarified, watching Rimuru with that same mixture of fascination and wariness he'd noticed before. One of the most powerful beings in existence. Holy crap, Issei muttered. And here I thought you were just a normal transfer student. Funny how things work out, Rimuru replied dryly. As they walked Issei home, setting protective wards around his house courtesy of Rias, Rimuru reflected on how quickly his new life had complicated. In less than a week, he'd battled a divine hunter, bound a death goddess, and fought off fallen angels, all while trying to maintain his cover as a high school student. And something told him this was just the beginning. That night, Rimuru stood on the roof of his apartment building, staring at the stars. The Ouroboros pendant glowed softly against his chest, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. I know you're watching, he said to the empty air. If you want to talk, just appear. Silence answered him, but he could feel a presence, a vast consciousness brushing against his own, ancient and unfathomable. Fine, he sighed. Have it your way, mother. The term felt strange on his tongue. He'd had human parents as Satoru Mikami, but never as Rimuru Tempest. To think of the infinite dragon god as his mother was a concept he was struggling to accept. As he turned to go back inside, a soft voice spoke behind him. You did well today. Rimuru spun to find Ophis standing there, unchanged from their previous meeting, the same gothic Lolita outfit. The same emotionless expression, the same endless eyes. Were you testing me? He asked, unable to keep a note of accusation from his voice. Observing, she corrected, learning what you have become. Quote, and what is that, exactly? You called me your fragment son, before, but I still don't understand what that means. Ophis approached, her movements unnaturally fluid. When Great Red forced me from the dimensional gap, I was diminished. Pieces of my essence scattered across realities. Most dissipated, one did not. Me, Rimuru guessed. She nodded. You were different. You attached to a dying human soul. Then evolved through multiple lives. Gathering experiences I never had. So I'm literally a piece of you that broke off. Once, she agreed. Now you are more different. Your experiences shaped you into something new. Rimuru absorbed this, trying to reconcile it with his memories of previous lives. So when I was reincarnated as a slime, that was your evolving consciousness finding a suitable vessel, Ophis explained. The human Satoru Mikami was dying. You merged with his soul as it transitioned. Then found the slime form. Then evolved further. It made a strange kind of sense. His unusual abilities as a slime, his rapid evolution, his affinity for mimicry and adaptation, all could be explained by his origin as a fragment of a primordial being. And now I'm here, in this world, Rimuru mused. Why did you bring me here? No, for the first time, Ophis looked genuinely puzzled. You appeared. I sensed my own essence and investigated. So it's coincidence. That seems unlikely. Not coincidence. Purpose. She gestured vaguely at the sky. Greater forces move. Old powers return. Barriers weaken. Like Izanami, Rimuru remembered. She said gods are returning to this world. Ophis nodded. The cycle turns. What was forgotten remembers itself. And what does that have to do with me? The dragon god studied him with those endless eyes. You are unique. Both divine and mortal. Both infinite and finite. You walk between. That's not an answer, Rimuru pointed out. A ghost of a smile touched Ophis's lips. It is the only answer I have. Even I cannot see all paths. Frustrating as her cryptic responses were, Rimuru sensed she was being as straightforward as her nature allowed. Whatever his purpose in this world, it seemed even Ophis didn't fully understand it. The fallen angels who attacked today, he said, changing tack. They're after a sacred gear bearer, a boy named Issei Hyodo. He apparently has something called the boosted gear. Red Dragon Emperor, Ophis confirmed. D-Drag, rival of Albion. Interesting that you found him. Is that significant? Perhaps. She tilted her head, considering. The red and white connect many threads of fate. That you encountered one. She trailed off, lost in thought. Should I be doing something specific? Rimuru pressed. Helping Issei. Fighting the Chaos Brigade. Binding more rogue gods. Ophis refocused on him. Follow your path. Trust your instincts. They have served you well across many lives. That's not very helpful, Rimuru complained. I am not good at helping, Ophis admitted. And for a moment she seemed almost vulnerable. I observe. I exist. I rarely intervene. Yet you gave me this pendant. Rimuru touched the Ouroboros at his throat. You're helping me in your way. She nodded. You are part of me. Yet not me. It is new. Rimuru realized with sudden clarity that this was as new for Ophis as it was for him. The concept of having a son, even one formed from her own essence, was foreign to a primordial being who had existed in solitude for eons. We'll figure it out together, he offered. Ophis studied him for a long moment before nodding. Together, she repeated, as if testing the word. Interesting concept. With that, she simply faded from view, leaving Rimuru alone on the rooftop with more questions than answers. But also a strange sense of connection he hadn't felt before. Whatever his purpose in this world, whatever challenges lay ahead, he wasn't facing them entirely alone. He had allies in Rias and her peerage, a potential friend in Issei. And now, in her own distant way, Ophis herself. For a being who had been reincarnated multiple times, it was almost like having a family again. Rimuru looked up at the stars once more, feeling the void energy flowing through him, connecting him to something vast and ancient. Whatever came next, he would face it as he always had, adapting, evolving, and protecting those who needed protection. In this world, as in every other, that was who Rimuru Tempest chose to be. Chapter 1 End.